Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this EWJI webinar. My name is Jan van der Wal. I work for a company called STONEAGE. I've been working in industrial cleaning for about 18 years. I've been in sales training, but I've also been a managing director for a contracting company. Today, we're going to talk about the topic, the need for training and education. And hopefully we can explain you a bit why we think as EWJI there's a huge need for this training and education. Like I said, I've been in industrial cleaning for 18 years, and I think we all came across a lot of stuff that we think it looks like funny on the first place, and that's why I put this picture in. You can see a guy cleaning his house, not working very safely, and I think this is something we see in our day-to-day industry. And why I use these titles, the Fast and the Furious, because a lot of times in our industry, people need to come in fast and need to go out quickly. And so yeah, come in quickly and be gone in 60 seconds. But as we can see in our industry, a lot of accidents are happening. And if we do not pay attention to the need for training education, well, this guy standing on a roof could also be like a dead man walking. So in this webinar, we're going to explain the need for training and education in Europe. First of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the EWJI. So what is the EWJI? What is the purpose of the EWJI? What is the water jetting scope for EWJI? What are the objectives of EWJI? How does the EWJI work? Who can get involved in the EWJI? And where is the EWJI and how do you get in contact? So the EWJI is the European Water Jetting Institute. The EWJI was founded in 2013 to promote the water jetting industry and its applications in Europe towards the highest standards of safety, professional integrity, and quality of service. To achieve this mission, the EWJI works to create and uphold a global network of professionals and information, including companies like contractors, manufacturers, and asset owners, associations, all stakeholders and legislators, managers, and workers. So all of the people working together to develop and share best practice, regulation, and training. The EWJI encourages the sharing and exchange of knowledge to foster the development of the water jetting techniques and applications, creating cross-border opportunities and growth for the industry. Well, that's a whole mouthful. And we also would like to explain to you what the purpose of the EWJI is. And the mission of the European Water Jetting Institute, the EWJI, is to promote the water jetting industry and applications in Europe. The EWJI encourages sharing and exchange of knowledge to foster the development of the water techniques. What includes the scope of the EWJI is that the industrial cleaning and maintenance, urban cleaning, removal of coating and surface preparation, concrete removal and hydro demolition, inspection, assessment, training, and other activities related with these areas of applications. The stakeholders we're talking about are asset owners, contractors, suppliers, and national organizations. So everybody that works in our industry is an important stakeholder for us. So the scope for the EWJI exists of, through the combination of certain parameters, pressure, flow, temperature, and distance, water offers multiple possibilities as a tool, and water jetting allows for several applications. The EWJI focuses mainly in water jetting applications with common issues. The water jetting services are provided wherever it's needed by transporting and installing the equipment, like pumps, hoses, and robotics, nozzles, etc., including applications such as cleaning, cutting, sanitizing, scarifying, or even selective demolition. Directly linked with the water jetting is also vacuum technology, to either prepare or remove the materials generated before, during, or after the water applications. In some cases, there is also an important amount of work related with auxiliary equipment, such as scaffolding, access protection, or even engineering to prepare the work for itself. There are certain EWJI objectives that we would like to reach, and one of them is to be involved in and have an impact on health and safety standards, best practices, training and legislation related with water jetting, to promote European regulations and reference documents on water jetting techniques to improve the processes and ensure quality, to create a network for open communication and exchange among water jetting professionals, companies, associations, and related stakeholders. So you can see that we really like to reach everybody that's involved in our industry. To look after, promote, and protect the interest of the water jetting industry in Europe. To exchange information on techniques, applications, and working methods among the industry and with other related industries. To foster innovation through research and cooperation between the industry and universities, and to facilitate the access to funding available for these purposes. To support the existing associations and foster the creation of new organizations in Europe, sharing their knowledge and best practice related with water jetting. To contract and cooperate with similar organizations in other parts of the world. What does the EWJI to achieve these objectives? So, the preparation of publications such as information guides or yearbooks, holding events and conferences such as the EWJI Water Jetting Forum to continue sharing knowledge and creating a network of contacts and synergies between all the actors, stakeholders involved. Try to generate videos of different types which can be found on our YouTube channel, such as interviews with members and entities of interest to the water jetting industry. Due to the current situation, EWJI is also betting on online training. So how does the EWJI work? The governance of the EWJI is done through the General Assembly and the Board of Directors. The executive and daily management of the EWJI is done by the EWJI Secretariat. The General Assembly is the supreme governing body of the organization, in which all the members are represented. And it's very important to know that the EWJI is fully owned by its members. There's no organization behind it, no company or whatever. It's fully owned by all its members. The EWJI General Assembly usually meets once per year at the EWJI annual meeting. The role of the General Assembly is to define and monitor the main goals of the organization. To develop its activities and work towards its goals, EWJI has several working groups. These working groups focus on specific topics and are open to the participation of any EWJI member. Here you see a small picture of the Board of Directors. Our president is Mr. Hans Borgt, working for Dow Chemical. Active board member representing contractors is Mr. Mike Watson, owner of QTech International. Other important board member is Mr. Stuart Harwood, representing S3C, Safety Association in France. The vice president is Jan van der Wal from STONEAGE. It's myself. The treasurer is Mr. Roger Simonson, owner of Aquajet. And other board member is Mr. Per Andersen, TST, Safety Issues. And our Secretary General is Jose Blanco Rabuzo, who's also running the EWJI Secretariat in Madrid. So who can get involved in EWJI? I've heard that question very often. And the EWJI is an umbrella organization and a network point intent for direct membership for associations, contractor suppliers, all stakeholders related to our industry. As a non-profit institute, the EWJI also embraces the direct participation as partners in the development of the trade of other irrelated organizations, such as public administrations, health and safety organizations, universities, research centers, and press. So again, everybody, every stakeholder industry, we have an interest in getting them along. We talked about EWJI working groups. To get things done, we have divided the board members into working groups and try to get members to work on specific topics. The water jetting industry is already very specialized in Europe. And in fact, there are several standards, regulations, and industry agreements related with the different water jetting applications. As Europe and the world in general become smaller and more connected, Specialization on any activity needs to be a permanent effort. To search for the best practices, to improve health and safety, and to watch for environmental aspects, and to make sure the activity is sustainable, both for workers and companies. And as our industry evolves quickly, EWJI needs to move onto the very same rhythm, helping the water jetting companies, workers, and associations from all over Europe to be able to produce deliverables related with several topics which are of interest for the industry. EWJI proposes to organize its works through working groups. Each of these working groups will generally only meet in person once a year, and the rest of the meetings will be held by video conference. The meetings in person will be mostly probably at the EWJI annual convention. Each working group will be asked to present a list of topics and keep it updated with any idea, comments that may come. From that list, the leader of the working group, together with all the professionals involved, will choose a topic or set a list of topics and will define a deliverable with clear dates, scopes, and support needed. The working groups are meant to be composed by volunteer professionals from the industry and to the leadership of one spokesman to lead the group. These 7 groups and subgroups are momentarily active in the EWJI. One is called the Asset Integrity, Communication and Marketing. This one, Training and Education, which we're going to talk about today. Environmental, Equipment and Technology, Health and Safety, and Regulation. So these are the 7 work groups we're working on now, but of course we're not limited or restricted to these 7, and maybe in the time being we will have more or less. So what do you want to achieve with these work groups? Well, in my work group, the need for training and education, there's a liner I saw on the internet which I picked, and it says there is no need for unnecessary injuries or work-related deaths. Be part of a global shift in mindset that will help save lives. And to achieve these goals, these end goals, we made up some short-term and long-term goals, but the end goals are: every person that works in our industry should have a minimum level of competence, know how to work safely, and lifting the minimum training and education requirements step by step to a higher level. We would like to have an EWJI register that is able to communicate between different safety organizational databases. I will get into more details on the subjects later. Building a training curriculum, not only about personal safety, but also about best practice. To promote European regulations and reference documents on water jetting techniques. To improve the process and ensure quality. So the first end goal was that every person that works in an industry, we think, should have a minimum level of competence, understand how to work safely, and raise the minimum training and education requirements step by step to a higher level. This minimum training should be recognized and accepted all over Europe by our entire industry. Now we see that some countries have trainings by themselves, have certifications by themselves, but as soon as one group of people wants to work in the other, these trainings and certifications are not recognized. After this minimum required training, we should work towards a tiered program that can lift the level of the competence to the next levels. For example, we could start with 3 to 4 different levels of skill competence. Levels of competence is about safety and best practice. Another great thing to have would be an EWJI register that is able to communicate between different safety organizational databases. So it would be great if any stakeholder, an asset owner, a contractor, or whoever would put my name in as Jan van der Waal and could see what kind of certificates I have, how long they're valid, and where my expertise lies. So in this register, stakeholder in our industry should be able to find personal data about valid certificates, levels of training, education, or any other proof of competence in a combined register that's already available in the existing databases. We know that throughout Europe, there are several databases with this information, and it would be great if we could make those registers communicate with each other. Building training curriculum that are not only about personal safety, but also best practice. We see that a lot of trainings were built only theoretical, while all the jobs we do are most practical. So guidelines and requirements that have to be agreed and set to ensure the training is established on common rules, regulations, and guidelines. The EWJI will not conduct training itself, merely establishing guidelines, regulations, and protocol for the training providers to follow. So the EWJI is not a company that will give the training. No, it will set and establish the guidelines and regulations that the training providers can follow. To promote European regulations and reference documents on water jetting techniques to improve the processes and ensure quality. Make contractors and asset owners aware of prevailing regulations and latest techniques about safety, efficiency, quality, and productivity. All over Europe, we see the difference between countries, companies, and asset owners. Some people still work by hand, other ones use automation, some people use only medium pressure, while high pressure also could be an option. So it's very important that we share this knowledge to gain a certain level of quality. To achieve these end goals, we made a list of short-term goals. And by the middle of next year, this working group would like to have achieved the following. So we will start with complete market analysis about existing education and training. So what's out there? So which training is given by which company and which country, and where is it available? How broad is the training currently given by the manufacturers? What training is available in which country? What are the gaps and what is the biggest demand? Which certification is available and in which country? What and where are the shortcomings? And of course, then we have to finalize a plan to work on these shortcomings. So complete market analysis about existing education and training. So we need to investigate what's out there. So for example, like we know that CIR have rules and guidelines, EWJI has them, S3C has them, EWJI has them. Individual contractors have their own training program, like maybe Boegen, Maurik, or Veolia, or Peters, or people have their own training programs, and it's very important for us to get their input because they built their own training program with a purpose. And we have to make sure that we benefit from the knowledge and the experience they gained by having these training concepts and trainings. But for us, it's important, are all these providers willing to participate in the EWJI and to help to develop a program capable of crossing borders? How great would it be if you have followed a training in Germany and you can use the same training in France, or you follow the training in the Netherlands and you can take that experience and that training and that certificate to Germany? So we would like to take the best from multiple platforms of current providers. So we don't want to invent the wheel again. No, we want to use what's out there. So investigate what kind of training is already given by manufacturers of equipment. The input of the manufacturers is vital. We want to make sure operators use the equipment due to the manuals and subscriptions of the manufacturers. Their input is important to build a best practice training. We need to make sure the training requirements are compliant with the current state of technology. So also the input of the manufacturers of equipment is very important. Which training is available in which country? Like I already said, we know that a lot of trainings in different countries, but we need to know where it is, what it is, and where it's given. Perform a gap analysis on the outcome of all the existing training abilities. What are the differences of the trainings, and what should we do with the differences? Which certification is available and in which countries? And I think during the investigation of all these topics mentioned, we'll uncover many challenges and hurdles. There will be a lot of demand. A lot of people have different opinions, different needs. So we have to make sure that we uncover all of those and put a plan to work on these shortcomings. So as a work group, we have to set a plan on all these challenges, prioritize them on demand, practicality, and impact. So working from short-term, we're working to long-term goals. So a long-term goal would be successful completion of the gap analysis between different existing safety organizations, training, and certifications. We need to know what the differences are. If people with the German certificate or with the French certificate would like to work in the Netherlands, we need to make sure that we know the differences between the two of them. Establish minimum training and education requirements that are recognized European-wide and acknowledged by our industry and safety organizations, allowing us to work towards a future where this will be accepted by national governments controlled by European guidelines and practices. So successful completion of the gap analysis would mean that instead of following a completely new training, operators which already followed certified training and who want to work cross-border should only need to be trained on the differences between the already established and certified trainings. It would be crazy if people would need to follow a completely new safety training if they already followed one. So we need to make sure the gap analysis, what the differences are between those trainings, and only train the people on stuff that they don't have to be trained on and not following a complete new training. Establish a minimum training and education requirements that are recognized European-wide, and that's of course really important that we find alignment between the different countries, between the different safety organizations, that we agree on the minimum safety training operators have to be able to work in the industry. And these rules and regulations and best practice should be mandated by law. Most of the times it's rules not mandated by law. We would like to work by rules, but nobody can actually act if they're not working by the rules and regulations. So it should be mandated by law. Working by a minimum safety standard should not make a difference on winning a contract or not. Nowadays, we see a lot of people that heavily invest new equipment, new techniques, new trainings, and that money has to be earned back at some point. And if you have other contractors working with hand, no training, no automation, it should not make a difference. Everybody should work by a minimum safety standard. A minimum safety by and for the workers should not influence the outcome of a bid. So again, the end goals, that's where we work towards to. Every person that works in the industry should have a minimum level of competence. We should like to have an EWJI register that could communicate between the safety databases, building a training curriculum, and of course not about safety, but also about best practice. And we want to promote European regulations and reference documents on water jetting techniques to improve the processes and of course to ensure quality. So these are objectives. These are the objectives of the EWJI: to be involved in and have an impact on health and safety standards, best practices, training, and legislation related with water jetting. To promote European regulations, legislations, and to have reference documents on water jetting techniques to improve the process and ensure quality. Some countries have national rules and regulations. Most are not mandated by law. Many countries have barely or no regulations at all. If we want to make permanent changes and add something consistency for all stakeholders throughout Europe, we have to write it in stone. Have it committed to law and European law. To make sure these rules and regulations are supported by our entire industry, they should be written and formalized by representatives from all the industrial cleaning industry stakeholders. So again, we need the input from everybody that works in our industry. So why do we need your help? EWJI is a group that needs group membership and group participation to be successful. We need the input from everybody, from all stakeholders in our industry, asset owners, contractors, manufacturers, training providers. It needs a balanced input. European-wide collaboration and participation from many countries and sectors. And the support is required from all regions of Europe if European legislation is to be attained. All viewpoints are very good viewpoints and need to be shared for the good of the EWJI and its members. Important is that the working groups are filled with open and collaborative active members. And I want to shut down with the movie title as well. It should be Work Unsafe, should be Once Upon a Time in the West. It should not be part of our future. It should be part of our past. Thank you for your attention.